Namaste homies, this is Navinad, Budget Pub Stomper. Today we're going to be taking a second look at Baylen the Haymaker. Now this is one of the decks that's gotten the most views and caused the most interaction on the channel. So that's a good reason to do a second look at it, because we never did starting hands, a mulligan guide. We never really went over the combo lines in deep detail. So I want to do some of that today. For one reason, because I think there's probably a ton of people out there who would like that because it got a lot of activity. And the second, more direct reason is on the Discord that Ryan, RS Mustang, friend of the channel, set up for all things budget competitive. I had a request, a specific request from a person on the, excuse me, a person who is playing this deck, but a $150 version, I think, at a budget tournament at his locals. And he was asking about potential upgrades and could I do a starting hand guide, a mulligan guide, kind of a playtest guide. So, you know, that's, geez, sorry about the voice. That's one of the perks of being on the Discord, is you can have a say-so in what kind of things we do on the channel. And maybe I'll tell you why I'm losing my voice. This is the third take of this video. I've just screwed it up monstrously twice. It's almost enough to make me want to write a script. I could probably write scripts for as often as I have to scrap a video and start over. So I should be really good at it by now, right? What does Baylen do? So it has 3 abilities. The top 2 are the ones that are most important. Tap 2 untapped tokens you control to add 1 mana of any color, or tap 3 untapped tokens you control to draw a card. Now you also have this combat ability. You can tap 4 untapped tokens to put 3+1 counters on Baylen. It gains trample, and you can whack somebody for 7 right off the bat, or if you go infinite, you can just whack somebody and take them out of the game. You can do that even before you start comboing off, so that's probably the best use case, is when you have the combo, you make the infinite tokens, but you haven't put your win con on the stack yet. You can look at the guy that's playing blue, and you can swing a billion pissed off bunny rabbit warrior at him, and you know, then you don't have to worry about that person's interaction for when you try to combo. So that's a use case. But mostly what we play well, we want the Naya colors for this kind of combo deck. But the other big thing that Baylen is for us is an outlet. So there are lots of combos in this color combination that can pretty easily achieve infinite tokens. But the problem usually is that when you get the infinite tokens, like an example would be if we have a Basking Brood Scale and we cast a Rosie of South Lane, then South Lane comes in and puts a counter on Brood Scale, and that procs Brood Scale to make a counter, which procs Rosie to put a counter on Brood Scale. So we go infinite, what are they? Eldrazi spawn creature tokens. But they're 0/1s. It's infinite colorless mana, but that's it. I mean, we have an infinitely big Brood Scale, but we're still going to end up having to pass the turn in that situation if we're playing it in just some random deck. But when we're playing that kind of combo in Baylen the Haymaker, we don't have to pass the turn, because we can use those tokens to make infinite mana and draw our deck. And so we just draw into one of our like actual literal kills, like Dual Caster Mage Twin Flame, and we just put the game away. That might be a bad example, but let's not dwell on that. We've got lots to get through here. So the big cool thing about Baylen is that he is an infinite token outlet. He's not like just an infinite mana outlet. You don't have to have infinite mana. If you make infinite tokens, he gives you infinite mana, and he's an outlet for the infinite mana. So that's the big draw to this commander. That's why we want him in the command zone, or her. That's why we want the rabbit in the command zone. All right, so what are our 1-card win conditions? Because that's the coolest thing about the deck, is that you can use 1-card win assemblers like Vivien on the Hunt, Fauna Shaman. You easily could, in fact, the person in the Discord has asked me specifically, what do I think about Birthing Pod? And the only reason that I'd even hesitate is because we're playing Collector Oof. But if you're meta, Collector Oof is really, really good in a lot of metas. If you've got like, well, lots of decks, it's very good against lots of decks, but it's not really good against all decks. If you're playing in a dork-filled meta, I mean, we're playing Magic, we're all playing in dork-filled metas, right? But I mean, if you're playing in a mana dork-filled environment, maybe Collector Oof can come out and you can just do a 1-for-1 swap, Collector Oof out, and you can put the birthing pod in. It's a little bit of money, but if you're upgrading the deck, I think that'd be a fine idea depending on your meta. And I just want to talk real quick about some of the upgrades and changes. I'm using the exact same deck that I put on the Deck Tech video originally, but I think what you could do for just a couple more dollars, literally, you could take the Recruiter of the Guard out and put Imperial Recruiter in. It's a little more expensive, but that gives you kind of another 1-card win condition because Imperial Recruiter can find Kiki-Jiki. Now this takes a lot of mana, but a lot of these combos do, hence the stacks package and the interaction that I'm running. But if you have enough mana, you have Imperial Recruiter, you can find Kiki-Jiki with the Recruiter, cast the Recruiter, cast the Kiki-Jiki, tap the Kiki-Jiki to make a copy of the Recruiter, and then the Recruiter finds one of your combo pieces with Kiki-Jiki, either Village Bellringer or Hyrax Tower Scout. Well, no, you can't get Tower Scout with the Recruiters, but you can get Village Bellringer or Felidar Guardian and make infinites and do the thing. I do think Recruiter of the Guard should be in the deck, but if it's a budget thing, but you have like $105, play Imperial Recruiter first. And if you've got a little extra budget that you can afford to add, play them both. I think that's another real big upgrade would be that. And also if you play Birthing Pod, that gives you yet another 1-card win condition for the deck. You could play your pod lines out, which is not much different than the way Vivien on the Hunt works. In fact, it's virtually identical. So in fact, if you know how the Vivien line works, then you do know how then you'd only have to read the card Birthing Pod and then you know how both lines work. So let's go over this line. This is the most complicated line. I don't want to go over every single line. I want to get to play testing, but Vivien on the Hunt, 6 mana, win the game. So even if you only have Baylen the Haymaker out, because you don't need Baylen as a mana outlet or a token outlet for this combo line, but you can use the fact that she's a 3 mana bunny to win the game on the spot with Vivien on the Hunt. Vivien Hunt, you can only activate a Planeswalker 1 time, right? But if you flicker the Planeswalker, it comes back in as a new game object, and you can use that one, or you can use it again, or use that one, however you want to put that. So we're going to take advantage of that by playing Vivien, sacrificing Baylen, and it doesn't have to be Baylen, obviously. If you've got some other 3-drop, sacrifice the 3-drop. But we need a 3-drop. So that's why it's good to play this combo in exactly this deck, because it has 3 mana and it's got the right colors. 3 mana CMC. Okay, so Vivien on the Hunt, +2, sacrifice Baylen. Since it's 3 mana, we get to find a 4 mana creature. The 4 mana creature is going to be Felidar Guardian. Felidar comes into play and it flickers target permanent. That's what the card does. So the permanent we're going to flicker is going to be Vivien on the Hunt. So we're going to flicker the Vivien. So we sacrifice the Baylen to get the Felidar. Felidar comes into play, blinks Vivien. Now we've got basically a new Vivien. We're going to +2 the new Vivien to sacrifice the Felidar Guardian. So the Felidar Guardian, importantly, is going to our graveyard. And now we get to find a 5 mana creature. That's going to be Karmic Guide. When Karmic Guide enters the battlefield, you get to return a creature card from the graveyard, like we just said, Felidar Guardian's in the graveyard, into play. And so Felidar Guardian comes into play, and we're going to put Karmic Guide comes into play, and we're going to get Felidar Guardian from the bin, slap that back in play. When we do, it's going to blink Vivien again. So now we've blinked Vivien again. We've got a Felidar Guardian and a Karmic Guide in play with our Vivien. We've got a fresh Vivien. Now we're going to use the Vivien's plus ability again to sacrifice this Felidar Guardian again. And the Felidar Guardian is 4 mana. So we're going to sacrifice this the Felidar Guardian that was in the graveyard that we got back out with Karmic Guide. We're going to sacrifice that Felidar Guardian with Vivien to find a 5 mana creature and put it into play. The 5 mana creature will be Kiki-Jiki. Now we've got Kiki-Jiki, Karmic Guide, and Vivien on the Hunt all in play. We will tap the Kiki-Jiki to make a copy of Karmic Guide. That's what Kiki-Jiki does. Tap it to make a copy of target non-legendary creature. We're going to tap it to make a copy of Karmic Guide. When the copy of Karmic Guide comes into play, its ETB says you can bring a creature from your graveyard into play. The creature that we're bringing out of the graveyard into play is going to be the Felidar Guardian again. Felidar Guardian comes into play again, and it flickers Kiki-Jiki. So Kiki-Jiki gets blinked, and when things come into play, unless it says otherwise on the card, they enter the battlefield untapped. Permanents come in untapped. So you flicker something, it comes back untapped. So we're going to flicker Kiki-Jiki, so now it's untapped. We're going to tap Kiki-Jiki to make a copy of Felidar Guardian. Felidar Guardian copy is going to blink Kiki-Jiki. Comes back untapped. We're going to tap it again to make another Felidar Guardian, so on and so forth until we have infinite Felidar Guardians, and we're going to swing for lethal. All of that came off of just this one card. It's the only thing you have to find to win the game. And one of the other things that could be the only thing you have to find to win the game is Fauna Shaman. Now, this is a little bit slower in turns, but it's maybe more mana efficient. We've got some A+B creature combos in the deck. We can use Fauna Shaman to discard, say, whatever little dork we've got in our hand. We discard our Avacyn's Pilgrim with Fauna Shaman to find Basking Broodscale. We put Basking Broodscale onto the battlefield. Then on our next turn, we discard whatever other creature, and we can find Rosie Cotton. Where are you? Calling all Rosies. Rosie Cotton, are you still here? There she is. Alt art. So we have our Basking Broodscale in play. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And now we're going to play Rosie Cotton. When she comes into play, she makes a food token. And she's going to proc herself because she says whenever you create a token, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. We're going to target Basking Broodscale. But Basking Broodscale says whenever you put a counter on it, make a token, a 0/1 Eldrazi token, a spawn that you can sack for mana. Okay, so Rosie procs Broodscale. Broodscale makes a token. The token procs Rosie to put a counter on Broodscale, which makes a token, so on and so forth. So we make infinite tokens, but because we have Baylen the Haymaker, we don't have to find an infinite mana outlet, or we don't have to say, okay, well, I've got an infinitely big Broodscale, I'm going to beat you down next turn. None of that. Just we make infinite tokens, we win the game. Because we can use those infinite tokens to make mana by using the first ability on Baylen and draw cards with the tap 3 ability. So you make all the mana, draw your cards, and then you cast a Dual Caster Mage Twin Flame or a Kiki-Jiki combo, and you just finish the game on the spot. So the other kind of one-card win conditions we have in the deck are going to be Weird Harvest. So with Weird Harvest and enough mana, we can find the A and the B of our combo. It's a little mana intensive, but we've got the Facebreaker and the Magda and the Rosie can help, I think, and the Gilded Goose and the Dorks and the Tireless Provisioner to make tokens and the Tinderwall to be a ritual and Skirk Process. So we've got lots and lots of mana in the deck. Elvish Spirit Guide, Simian Spirit Guide. So assuming we have all this mana, we can use Weird Harvest to find the Broodscale and Rosie. Or if you have already one of the A's, you can find the B. So if you already have the Basking Broodscale, you can find the Rosie. If you've got the Rosie, find the Broodscale. If you've got Scurry Oak works exactly the same way that Broodscale works. It's just redundancy for that combo. And Scurry Oak you actually can find off of Recruiter of the Guard. So with a little upgrade, you'd have the Imperial Recruiter, you'd have the Vivien on the Hunt, you'd have the Weird Harvest, you'd have the elf thing I can never remember, Fauna Shaman, and one more quote one card win is Shared Summons. This is nice because it's an instant. So at the end step before you untap, cast Shared Summons and you find any two creatures, and you can find Kiki-Jiki and Felidar Guardian, or Kiki-Jiki and Village Bellringer, or you can find Basking Broodscale, and Rosie. Lots of options, and we talked about those in the first video. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that that's what we're trying to do with the deck, is get to these 1-card win conditions. Okay, some other things I want to say about the deck if you're on an upgrade path. The mana base could surely use some tuning. I think, honestly, if I were rebuilding this deck, I would play a couple more lands, or I would put more money into the mana base. It's a 3-color deck. Having a couple more dual lands sure would help. But I mean, this is functional, and we're not trying to win like immediately ASAP as soon as possible. We're trying to stack the board out. And okay, when you're upgrading the deck or you're making it your own, don't play just all the stacks pieces that I play necessarily. Deafening Silence is really, really good in my meta with this deck because you can do everything just by casting creatures. But if you're in an all creature meta, maybe Deafening Silence doesn't do anything, which means you could take it out for more combo pieces, or more, well, the 1 or 2 more combo pieces, being Imperial Recruiter, or the, what's it called? The Vivien on the Hunt, for the old school Vivien on the Hunt, the Birthing Pod, sorry. Yeah, so you could take stacks pieces out and just try to go a little bit faster, especially if you're in a slow meta, but it's all fair decks. Like, fair decks don't care about stacks, but you also don't have to win on turn 5 against fair decks. You've got time. So those are some of the upgrades I'd make, is maybe more tutors and or combo pieces, because notice that some of the combo pieces kind of are tutors, and the tutors are the combo pieces. But in this shared summons in step, find 2 creatures that win the game, go to your turn, untap, cast them, win the game. So let's see how it plays out in real life. Go to the playtester, discard, and I think this is just fine. We've got a good first 7 here. I mean, so what are we looking for? We want to have our mana fixed. That's a really big deal in a 3-color deck. You want to be able to make all 3 colors of mana, which is another reason I would either play maybe more lands or put some money into the mana base. I don't know that you need shock lands, but, you know, maybe, well, maybe tune the mana base up a little bit. And it could use, like I said, maybe a couple more, 1 or 2 more lands. All right, so with this, we're looking for our colors, some acceleration, and we'd like to have a combo piece or a tutor or more interaction. Now this has all the ramp we could want. It's got our colors fixed, but it doesn't have any interaction. I wouldn't blame somebody for taking a mulligan. If I was playing in a tournament, I probably wouldn't keep this on a first 7, but I think it's going to be a good hand to just kind of show what the deck does. It's just gonna go somewhere, right? So let's just draw for turn and hope it's a combo piece. That's another little value piece. So we go turn 1, play Dork. Turn 2, we can play. How do we get our Baylen? Well, maybe we don't need to get Baylen out yet. Yeah, let's do this. Turn 2, we'll go 1, 2, 3 for Professional Facebreaker. Yeah, one thing about this deck is it's not exactly looking to just like rush Baylen into play. It's not necessarily what you want to do. I mean, if you don't have anything else to do with the mana, by all means, rush it into play. Okay, so probably actually want to recant the land drop because we want to play Tireless Provisioner first. It doesn't matter because we're going to make either a treasure off of the Provisioner, or probably we can hit somebody with the Dork and get a treasure off of Facebreaker. But let's just say we did it this way. Then we're going to play our land, which gives us a landfall trigger, which procs Tireless Provisioner to make a treasure token. Or it can make a food token, but we're going to make a treasure token. Alright. And we still have 1 mana. We missequenced. I just tapped wrong. So what we should have done is tapped this, this, and this. And then, oh no, that was in our hand. Okay, so we couldn't have sequenced it right. I'm sorry. So we make our treasure. We've got 2 mana open, and we've got the decision to make. Do we want to run out our Destiny Spinner or not? I And I don't know, it depends. If you're playing against 3 blue decks, yeah, crack the treasure, tap the land, play your Destiny Spinner. But let's go to combat, and we're going to make a treasure, because that's what Facebreaker does when he or somebody else gets through for combat. On each opponent you hit, you can make 1 treasure token. Okay, so now, do we want to spend a treasure or not? Maybe we do just get the commander out at this point. This is a tough call, honestly. I don't quite know. I think the thing that feels the least wasteful is to crack the treasure and tap the land to play this. But for real, if you don't have blue decks in the pod, save your treasures. Don't do that. Or play the Gilded Goose, you know. In fact, let's just go ahead, since we don't have anything else to do, let's go ahead and get the Gilded Goose off of Summoning Sickness on our next turn. And that comes into play with a food. And we go to our next turn. Alright. Now, we're just going to play out our guy. There's a Baylen. We're going to probably have, I don't know how many people can we attack. We can probably get through. We can almost certainly get through with this guy. We can probably get through with this guy. And let's just say that's what we get through. We've only got 2 lanes. One we can offer an unfavorable trade, and one doesn't have 2 blockers. And so we're going to make 2 treasures. I bet there's a cheat code, a way to just like press a button and make treasures. If not, there ought to be one. Okay, so now where are we at? We are looking for our combo piece to pair up with Rosie. So I think we're going to start drawing cards. So we have 3 tokens. Maybe we wait until our opponent's in step and we tap 1, 2, 3 to use our Baylen as a value engine, and we draw a card. Okay, there's another half. We've got an A and we've got 2 A's. We're just missing a B. We'll go to our next turn, and we're going to play our land. And we're going to go to combat. And now we've got, this guy can probably find a place to beat in. This guy can probably still get in. We'll say that we don't have a good way to beat face with the Tireless Provisioner. And so we'll make 2 tokens. 1. For getting through with our Professional Facebreaker. And then, and we had a landfall trigger for playing our land for Tireless Provisioner, so we make another treasure from that. And if we wanted to, we could start spending 4 mana to make a treasure, a food token with the Gilded Goose that we can use for mana, or we can draw cards with it. Let's see, Rosie, when she enters, you put a +1 on something. Yeah, I don't think this matters very much. I think we want to wait until we get our Brood Scale. So let's start digging for stuff. Let's go 1, 2, 3 to draw a card with Baylen. And 1, 2, 3 to draw a card. There it is. Okay, so now we have gone post-combat. We're already post-combat, so we're going to have to be kind of careful how we do this. But let's start like this. 1, 2. Play out the Brood Scale. Let's tap it this way in case somebody bolts our dork or something. Little things, right? Little things for just tight play. All right, so now we've got our A and we've got our B. So we're going to tap 1, 2, 3. And we're going to play out Rosie. What would have been nice is if we would have had our... so if we weren't playing against blue decks, the thing to do would have probably been to play the Tinderwall instead of the Destiny Spinner. And then now we could use if we had to, we could crack the Destiny Spinner and, crack the Tinderwall and pay 1, so a total of 3, to flash in our Dualcaster Mage if somebody tried to, I don't know, counter us or mess with us in some way. Okay, but this comes into play, procs this. That makes a treasure or a token, which procs this. We're in an infinite loop where we get infinite buffed dudes, and we get so we get an infinite buff dude, and we get infinite tokens. That can be infinite colorless mana, but what we're gonna do is we're just gonna draw out our deck, and we're gonna find just a solid way to either win the game or make sure there's no way your opponents can possibly beat you. You find the all the interaction, you blow up all your opponent's stuff. Just you can infinite mana find your Teamer Sabertooth and find your what's the guy called, the Eternal Witness, and we cast a lightning bolt, and then we bounce the Eternal Witness to our hand, and we play it again, and we grab our lightning bolt, and we lightning bolt somebody. So that's a good way to win the game post combat, because most of our combos require combat, but we can use either Emil to flicker the Eternal Witness, or we can use the Teamer Sabertooth to return it to our hand and cast it again, and we can keep picking up the same lightning bolt and just keep blasting until you've killed everybody. So this is a win. That's a win, and that's kind of how the deck should probably look when it plays out. It wasn't an incredibly fast hand. It's not an incredibly fast deck, but you see how many cards I was able to draw and how many things I was able to do. It's an effective deck. Turn 5 is good for the deck. Like, I think you should be happy to win on turn 5 or turn 6, which means you're going to have to interact, or you're going to have to be be a little bit parasitic. You know, if you have players that are going fast, but you've got people that are countering their stuff. Anyway, let's go to or if you're just playing in a less experienced meta or a less competitive meta, then you probably wouldn't want to go much faster than this, or you'd get you'd get looked at in that certain light that we've all been looked at a time or two playing Commander, especially casual. So yeah, this isn't really a casual deck, but yeah, you know what it is, and you know what I am. You know who I am. You know what I'm about here. You make your own decisions here. You do what you think is best, right? All right, so let's do another hand, because that's what I think is best. How are we doing on time? Half an hour, okay. Didn't get to as much of this as fast as I would have liked. We don't have enough lands, and see, I've goldfished this a couple times now, and I keep kind of seeing that, is I either don't have enough lands or I don't have the colors. So I think we need to tighten that mana base up and or add more lands. Let's go. Thank God we can mulligan. We're going to go to a second 7. And once again, we don't have land, but now we do at least have mana. So we have the colors we need. And we're on a second 7. Maybe the top of the deck will just be real good to us. We've got an A, we've got a B, so to speak. This could go very wrong. This could all go very wrong, but it's got a lot of the things I want to see. We've got ramp, we've got our colors. If we just draw land, we'd be doing so good. Do I want to cheat? Wait a second. Does this thing come in tapped? No, we can't keep this. We're going to a 6. Okay, we've got some mana. This will do. Okay, so what's our 6 that we're going to keep? It depends on the meta. It depends on the decks in your pod. If a Braid will kill one of your opponent's commanders, or if one of your opponents is using an artifact combo to win the game, then you definitely keep a Braid. I'm kind of torn between Eternal Witness, Sabertooth, Village Bellringer. I think we probably, that is really, so it's like combo piece, potential combo piece. These two can help each other out. These two can help each other out. Maybe for now we just we're gonna bottom the Abrade, and for sure in terms of gold fishing, bottoming the Abrade is gonna look the best, but you won't always want to do that. But here we're gonna move that to the bottom of the library. We're gonna draw for turn. All right, we're all set for land now. This is brush land, cool. All right, so we've got we really would like to have. Well, let's just do this. This is the pretty obvious turn 1. Go to our next turn. And we're going to need green, white, red. Okay, so let's go like this. I don't, actually, do we even want to cast our commander yet? Probably. We'll just do this. And then we'll go to our next turn. And this way we'll get a little bit ahead, because when we go white, green, red, so we could either burn this for red now, or we could tap this for 1 red. But if we don't tap this yet, our Baylen has 4 power, which is something we're taking advantage of with this deck a little bit. So we could actually tap this for 2 mana, which would give us 3 mana, which really doesn't do anything. So I guess, yeah, I guess we can just do this. And we'll save our Simian Spirit Guide. Okay, we're going to go to our next turn. We've got a pretty good token producer here, which is a fine thing to do if you don't have anything else going on, right? So we're going to go tap this for 2 mana because we control a creature with 4 power or greater. We're going to pay another mana. We're going to cast this. Let me make sure I know which one this is. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 goblin creature token. It gains haste until end of combat and it attacks. Okay, so we're just going to make a token and we're going to bash at somebody. Where's our goblin? We're going to hit somebody for 4 and then hit somebody for 1 and become public enemy number 1. Doesn't matter. What can they do? They can't stop us. Next turn, they can only hope to contain us. So we can start setting up for some of the stuff we hopefully will be getting to. But this is kind of petering out, it looks like. We've got a little bit of a value thing we can do. So this is kind of neat. Okay, I know what we're going to do. We're going to tap this for 2 mana. Go to 3 mana and 4 mana for our Temur Sabertooth. And shit, we're out. Yeah, I guess then we got to decide again, do we want to use the Simian? Let's use the Simian Spirit Guide. Let's get this ball rolling. Sorry guys, let's not. Here's what we want to do. Instead of tapping the 2 and 1 for the Eternal Witness, what we're going to do is we're going to go to combat. We're going to make a token. And we're going to beat in with our tokens. Or, right before combat. No, okay, I was going to say right before combat, you could tap the 2 tokens to make a mana. And then you could play the Eternal Witness without using the Simian Spirit Guide. But I think one of the tokens comes into play tapped and attacking. No, you could do this. Okay, so we could do this. So we've got options. We could tap these 2 tokens to make a mana to get our Eternal Witness in play. Or we can just say beat face with these guys and beat face with this guy. And then cast a Path to Exile on somebody's best thing and then go to our next turn. So whoever is looking to win the game, maybe they've got plenty of mana, they've got their Malcolm in play. Looks like they could be setting up for Glinthorn combo. You could Swords or Malcolm, which sets those decks back quite a lot, or you could hold it and just wait. But I would just go ahead and do it because we're not going to have to wait or hold it. We're not going to have to hold it because we're going to get more of them. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. Let's go to next turn. So this is a really cool little engine thing we've got going now. We can go 1, 2, 3 and cast our Eternal Witness, returning Path to Exile to hand. Then we've got 1, 2 to bounce it to hand. And then we can play it again now. And go 1, 2, 3. Technically, I would wait until... no, this is fine. 3 mana. Get our Ewit back out. Go to combat. Make another goblin. Okay, so now we're able to keep the... I don't want to say keep the table locked down, but we're able to, every single turn, Path to Exile the biggest threat. It's not a lock, but that's a pretty good little engine that we've got going. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Eternal Witness either. It doesn't have to be Path to Exile either. Anything we could be doing this with a Lightning Bolt, Swords to Plowshare, a tutor, like a creature tutor would end the game real quick. Now, we're already on turn 6, and this is kind of petering out, but look at the way this is going to go. We're going to make all these tokens, and when we get all the tokens out, we'll find other ways to make tokens, hopefully. Then we can use the tokens to generate mana, and we can use the Village Bellringer to untap the tokens, and we can use the Temur Sabertooth to return it to hand. Now that's a bit of a long game, but if we've got 1-2 mana here, 3. It's not too far in the future. In fact, let's play it out. Let's keep going. I think I already made a token, so we go to combat. We do whatever beats we can do, and we go to our next turn. Okay. So let's skip to the part where we have a token. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 2 mana, 3, 4 mana's worth of creatures. We need 5, and we can. Well, I guess with 5 we go neutral. If you're not seeing what I'm saying, let me just show you. If we had a couple more of these or a couple more dorks, and usually we will have more tokens, and usually we will have more dorks, at least one or the other. But we could tap all this for mana using this ability and this as a dork, and then we could cast our Bell Ringer, untap all of our creatures, and then tap our creatures to make enough mana to bounce this and to recast it. And so it's not far-fetched to think that we could get there. Now let's just see a couple more turns. I don't remember if we made a goblin or not, but we're definitely going to do the thing where we bounce this and recast it and Swords to Plowshare or something every turn, or Path to Exile. Boy, we just hit a big old bunch of mana, didn't we? Alright, we do basically the same thing. Yeah, we're into turn 8. We do have interaction. This has not been our greatest showing. And you could make the decision, you know what, it's time to just go to beats, and I could be putting a bunch of counters on this guy. In fact, probably that's what you ought to be doing until you get to... no, it depends. I guess it just really does depend. Next turn. Alright, well that's not what we needed. We did not need more mana. But at least you kind of see one of the weird lines that we stumble into here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. So that is enough to cast the Bell Ringer, untap all these, and then bring it back. But you actually need one more dork to go infinite mana. So that, I think I'm done with this. This didn't go well. But you know what? Sometimes it won't go well. This is probably too much mana and not enough anything else. We're going to take a second 7. This really depends on how good that stacks piece is, but I could definitely see this as a keep. I think most of the time, yeah, I think we'd probably risk it. We want to draw some lands, but hey, perfect. Never punished. We're going to turn 1. Well, turn 1, we're going to play the Plains, hold up mana for our Path to Exile, go to next turn. Now we're going to get our dork out. So we've got some interaction, got some hate. And, you know, the Thorn, it just really depends how you want to sequence this, really depends on the pod. Like, do we want to get our... Let's do this. Okay, so we're going to play a land, make sure we have all of our colors. Then we're going to play this. This is an elf, so Priest of Titania will tap for 2 mana when both these elves are in play. So we'll tap Priest of Titania to cast the Thorn of Amethyst, and no big deal. We just have to pass the turn before we can Path to Exile somebody's thing. Is that right? Oh no, our non-creature spells cost 1 more. Okay, that's fine. It's going to hurt them more than it hurts us. Next turn. Okay, we've got a way to make tokens here, but more importantly, what we've got is a creature. We just needed to draw a creature, which we have done. So sequencing gets kind of tricky here. We want the Scurry Oak first, but we do have to have our Baylen in play also. And if you haven't figured out what I'm talking about, if we put this out and then we play our Rosie, then we can go infinite, but we don't have the commander out yet. So maybe we just do the commander. Let's do this. Okay. Only non-creature spells, right? Yeah. Okay, then we're going to tap this for 2 mana. Make it 3. We'll put this out. Then we're going to go to our next turn. Of course, we put the beats to somebody. Put the boot down. Put the boots to somebody. Put the beats down. However you want to think. All right, so we've got interaction. The Bolt Bend will cost 2 mana right now. So can we hold that up? Let's see. We're going to use this to discard. So this is just Fauna Shaman's ability. Discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So we get to turn all of our creatures into creature tutors. So we're going to pitch the Magda. And we are going to find Rosie. Be careful, there's 2 Rosies. Or there's a Rose and a Rosie. And in this case, a rose by any other name does not smell as sweet. We're going to move this to hand. We're going to close and shuffle. We're going to proceed to win the game. We can hold up mana, but we do need to tap the white. So 1, 2, 3 for Rosie. Rosie enters the battlefield. And her thing, just like we were doing with Broodscale, is going to put a counter on Scurry Oak. And Scurry Oak, just like the Broodscale, is going to make it's going to spit out a token, which is going to proc Rosie, which is going to proc this. So we make infinite tokens. We draw our deck. We haven't even gone to combat yet, so any of our combos work. Also noteworthy, this makes 1/1 tokens. So these are creatures. So this also works with our Bellringer stuff. That like if we just have a bunch of clue tokens out, we can't untap those with the Bellringer. But the creature tokens we can untap with the Bellringer lines. So yeah, and here we've probably got a win on turn 5. We've even got, if somebody tries to interrupt it, they counter spell something, we can just be like, nope, I'm gonna bolt bend your counter spell, and you just countered my bolt bend instead of my win. Maybe we'll do one more. We had a couple of good ones and a not so good one in the middle there. This is a mulligan. Oh, this is so close. Like 1 forest, and I'm totally in for this hand. In fact, I'd say this hand would be great. But it's not, so we're going to go to 6. Alright, not in love with it, but I think we're going to have to risk it. We've got reasonable mana. I'd like to have 1 more land. We do need to put more lands in the deck. I'm pretty sure of it. Alright, but let's, what are we going to put to the bottom? So we can find Kiki-Jiki. We've got Hyrax, Tower Scout. We probably are going to be going kind of slow, so we want the Thorn. I think we'll put this guy to the bottom. Cutsel's awesome in this deck, because even just if we put 1 batch of counters, or any way we put counters on our Baylen, then Baylen does become a legit value engine. But I think he's the least important thing right now. Alright, so we're at 6, and we're going to draw for turn. And that's pretty good. Yeah, we're doing good. We're cooking here. Cooking right along. We're going to hold up our lightning bolt. Maybe we have to whack something. That's a cool piece in the deck. We're going to play... Yeah, we probably do just run this out. This will buy us the time we need. We are a little bit slower than the fastest decks, right? So now we've got to decide which way we're going to go with this. So we're going to play the Imperial Recruiter for sure. But what are we recruiting for? It's either going to be Kiki-Jiki. No, we're just going to get the Dualcaster Mage. We've got 2 lines we could use, but this is the one that doesn't... This is the most efficient line. So we're going to cast our Recruiter, and we're going to search for... Dualcaster Mage. Okay. Then we'll just go to our next turn, and I believe this is a turn 4 win. No, we won't have enough mana. That is unfortunate. Next turn. Yeah, if we'd have drawn a ritual, we'd have been there. 1, 2, 3... Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, you know, like we were drawing too much land the one game. Now we're not drawing enough land. Yeah, so we really need 5 mana. The deck does not seem to be in a hurry to get us there. We'll run out our commander. So that very easily could have been a turn 4 win. And even just if we had been able to cast Elven Chorus, it could have easily been a turn 5 win. Boy, oh boy. We just need one more mana. That's literally all we need. So I guess we better start staxing the game out. Yeah, at this point, we'd be loading up stacks pieces. We'd be burning people's utility pieces. So let's get rid of our lightning bolt. We'd be beating face. Next turn. Okay, at least this gets us there next turn. We're going to play out our Elven Chorus. What this card does, it turns all of our creatures into dorks. Okay, first and foremost. Creatures you control have tapped, add a mana of any color. That's going to work with some of the combo lines like Temur, Sabertooth, Hyrax, Tower Scout. You make infinite mana with Elven Chorus and enough creatures. It works with the Village Bellringer stuff. There's lots of stuff this does for the deck, but it's also just a good little engine. It allows you to look at the top card of your library at any time. And if it's a creature, you can cast it. But we'll have to go to our next turn, unfortunately. But look, I think we could have reasonably expected to get to our next turn. Because I was just looking at the top card with the Elven Chorus. We could have reasonably expected to get to our next turn because we did have interaction, we had Deafening Silence, and we had Thorn of Amethyst. So a lot of decks, the fastest decks are going to be hurt the most by this. But now we're going to go 1, 2. We're going to cast our Twin Flame and definitely copy something that has utility, right? In case we get stopped. So we're going to make a copy of Recruiter of the Guard. We are going to hold priority, and we are going to flash in by tapping Recruiter of the Guard. We're going to flash in Dualcaster Mage. Dualcaster is going to copy the Twin Flame, put another Twin Flame on the stack, which is going to copy the Dualcaster, which is going to copy the Twin Flame, which is going to copy the Dualcaster. And we make infinite creatures and infinite tokens. So we've got infinite mana, infinite draw, and infinite creatures for our win. And even if we had gone to combat for whatever reason, and then we found the combo, we can still basically win the game with this combo if we have our commander in play post-combat, because we can use it to we can make infinite tokens, and then we can tap the infinite tokens to make infinite mana and draw our deck, and we can put together one of our like clean win post-combat kills, which the easiest example is just Lightning Bolt and Emil, or Lightning Bolt and either Lightning Bolt, Temur, Sabertooth, and Eternal Witness, or Lightning Bolt and Emil with Eternal Witness. Do we want to do one more? Let's just take a look at a few more hands. This looks pretty good. We've got acceleration. We've got pretty good mana. We don't have white mana, but we do have a way to get there. Got a combo piece. Yeah, we could run with this. I think I'd keep this. It's got a little bit of everything. We don't have a tutor, but other than that, it looks like we've got enough interaction to get to a point where we can get a tutor. We've got, this will help us to expedite our processes and be a little bit of a value engine. So I think I'd keep this maybe even on a 7. That would have been great. Let's look at another hand, see what we're keeping and what we're not keeping. Generally speaking, I'd like to have a dork, but we do have shared summons, a stacks piece, and another combo piece. Close, we do have our mana. It really hurts to not have acceleration. I think depending on your meta, this could either be, so if you're playing in a like slower meta where your only real question is, am I going to be able to combo before my opponents can beat me to death with dragons or something like that, or beat me down with goblins, then go ahead and keep this. It's safe. It's going to do the thing. You've got one of your A's to your A plus B combos, and you've got shared summons to assemble an entire combo. And if somebody pops off a little faster than you thought they were going to with mana rocks and stuff, you've got Manglehorn to make sure that they come into play tapped. You can blow up the most important thing. But if you're in a fast meta, and I mean even if there's like one fast deck, you don't want to keep this. You're going to have to do a little better. But you could keep this. This is a nice safe play. It's going to get you to a win, probably like turn 6. But it depends on... In fast company, like good opponents, I would pitch this. And if I'm playing against mostly like casual players that are trying their hand at a more like at a tournament, at a like the guy that I'm actually talking to the about the deck, who's building the deck or built the deck for the event, maybe in that case I would keep this hand. Let's take a look at another. I think we're not going to keep this. Okay, so we'd go to second 7. This is good. We don't have a forest. That hurts real bad. I think we go to a 6. It depends on how good we think our Braid and our Dauntless Dismantler are. If this is a good stacks piece, then you can probably afford to play slower and just keep it. You're going to find a forest. But we do, and we can just lead with this tapped. Now, I wouldn't keep this on a first 7. And in a lot of pods, I think I would go to a 6. So let's just say we go to 6. Yeah, man. The big problem has been the mana. We need to fix the mana. Let's go to a 5. You've got to mulligan bad hands, and you know what? Sometimes you're going to mulligan yourself out of the game, and it is what it is. All right, so 5, I think we just get rid of our... Probably we get rid of the wear tear. And again, all this depends on your meta. And then I think maybe we'd risk it by getting rid of a plains. We've got kind of a quasi plains here. So we definitely need to hold the forest. That's our only green mana. Yeah, you could either pitch the... I think I'd pitch the plains. Oops. And you know what? If we don't draw... Like, we're going to have to draw well to win a game when we mulligan to 5 most of the time. So let's make it so that the only thing we really need to do to get back in the game is to draw land. Plus, you have to be part of... if you're part of Team Never Punished like me, you know you're going to get there on time. We totally... Would have been bad. Would have been bad. Okay, let's take a look at a 7. We're going to pitch it because we don't have enough land. Notice how often that is the case. All right, this is perfect. You know, it's not perfect, but it's close. This is close. This is a perfect 7. We'll draw for turn. Yeah, now it is literally perfect as long as somebody has a... you know, it really doesn't even matter because you've got white mana right here or here. And you've got red mana here and hopefully here. So we go turn 1, dork. Just keeps getting better. Turn 2, probably we can do Facebreaker, and we might even be able to do our commander. But we know we can do Facebreaker because we can do red, and then these are colorless, and then we go to our next turn. Okay. Depending on whether or not this made red, or depending on a lot of things, we might have wanted to sequence or play that a little bit different, but no big deal. Let's go to combat with this guy. Make a treasure. Remember, he's got evasion, so he'll usually make treasures early at least. And then let's just get our mana. Let's get our mana established. Here. Then 1, 2... Oh, did I just play this guy? 1, 2, 3. Cast Recruiter. And what do we want to find? It almost doesn't matter. We're just going to win with this. Maybe we'd find a Destiny Spinner if we were worried about getting counterspelled. Maybe we'd find a backup combo piece, like maybe our Fauna Shaman. If we're worried about maybe this doesn't get through. Let's just get whatever we see. We're just gonna tutor for this guy. Oh, we can't. We can't. Fine, whatever. Yeah, this isn't gonna matter. Okay, so we'll go to our next turn. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so here's what we can do. We can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. We cast our Vivien. Now we're going to use our Vivien to 86 a 3-drop creature. Let's kill this to search our library for a 4-drop creature. Oh, Felidar Guardian. So that goes to the battlefield. And when it does, it's going to blink our Vivien. So now we've got a new Vivien to use. And we're going to use our Vivien to sacrifice a creature to search for a creature with 1 more CMC. So we're going to kill our Felidar to find a 5-drop. That is going to be Karmic Guide. Karmic Guide is going to enter the battlefield. And when it does, it's going to return a creature card from the graveyard to play. It's going to return this creature. That's going to flicker a Vivien. Because that's what this does. Flickers a thing on ETB. Flicker Vivien. Now we're going to use the new Vivien to kill a creature. The creature is going to be the 4-mana Felidar Guardian. So that we can find a 5-mana creature. And this time it's going to be Kiki Jiki. Kiki Jiki comes into play. Kiki Jiki taps to make a token copy of a creature, and that creature is going to be Karmic Guide. So we make a Karmic Guide copy. The copy ETBs, and it returns a creature to play, and that is going to be Felidar Guardian. When Felidar Guardian enters the battlefield, it's going to flicker Kiki Jiki, so Kiki re-enters untapped. Enters untapped. We're going to tap this, make another copy of Felidar, which will flicker Kiki, which will make it untapped. Then we'll tap Kiki to make another copy of Felidar Guardian. And we'll make infinite Felidar Guardians, and we will win this time on turn 4. Which I think is really about the fastest you can expect from the deck. I think we're going to end this video on a high note. That was pretty good. I'm not sure where I think that was just I think that was a good 7. All right, well, hopefully that was insightful. You learned something. It makes more sense. It looks like it's you're seeing how the pieces are coming together, maybe, hopefully. Until next time, to all the girls I've loved before, and to the rest of y'all, may all your outs be alive. May all your stories be good. May all of your stories have a happy ending, especially the stories where you're at a massage parlor. East side until I die, or west side for you west siders, and namaste, my Magic the Gathering playing homies.